Hey everybody, this is Flavio Romeo, and on this episode of the Towncast, we had the opportunity of talking to Michael Walton, who is the founder of Open Heart Magic. It's an incredible nonprofit where they teach people, volunteers, how to be magicians, and they go to hospitals and they do magic tricks for children. It's absolutely amazing. I think you're going to enjoy it, and they are looking for volunteers, and hopefully we can get them to a hospital near you. All right, enjoy the episode, everybody. All right, everybody, I'm so excited. So here it is. It's Thanksgiving week, and today happens to be my birthday. So I'm so happy that I can do this on my birthday because this is such a great organization. I'm here downtown Chicago with Michael Walton, the founder of Open Heart Magic. Thank you so much. I know how busy this is right now. It's near the end of the year. This is where all the nonprofits, everybody's trying to reach out. So I really appreciate the time.
Flavio, I'm honored to be on your show. Thanks so much.
When I first found out, so you guys know, so my daughter Sophia decided to volunteer, and we'll talk about what that is, but when I found out and I learned what this organization was, I said, I have got to get you on. I've got to get the word out. So it's Open Heart Magic. Tell me your Open Heart Magic story. Tell me what it's all about.
What it's all about. Open Heart Magic, we provide personalized bedside magic to kids at their hospital bedside. And let's unpack that a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, in terms of like, why do we go there? Why is it important? And who does that? So what does this look like? Let's say you're a child. Let's say you're a 12-year-old boy. And
I have my moments.
That's right. I can remember those memories so clearly.
I actually did do magic when I was a kid.
Did you really?
I did it at birthday parties. I did it at my brother's party.
Really?
I loved sleight of hand, making the little balls disappear. I loved all that stuff.
It's so much fun.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's let's take a step back. At the core of this, magic is just something that has 1,000 different interpretations, and 95% of them are all very exciting. You know? Yeah. So that in itself is what opens doors in order to create an interaction with a child. And so let's talk about that. I think the strength of using magic with kids is it grabs their attention, and it can create an experience that is surprising and transforming to a child.
Yeah.
In or outside of a hospital. I think once you take that and you put that in a hospital, then all of a sudden you have something that's extremely unexpected. When all of a sudden one of our hospital magicians knock on the door, introduce themselves, you know, I'm a magician from Open Heart Magic. I was specially asked to come to your room. Are you Flavio? And they're like, yes. And you're like, wondering if you'd like to see some good or some great magic. And then that sort of gets things going. And again, magic is so important because it has that hook, and kids in hospitals, especially those that are, you know, have long-term disease, let's say they've been in a hospital for a while or things like that, they lose a sense of choice. And normally they're at home and they're choosing to have their favorite waffles. They're choosing to be part of that routine that they're used to, that kids need for comfort. All of a sudden in the hospital, they don't have that choice. And a lot of times what they'll do is if someone approaches them in a hospital, what they'll do is they'll say no. And young kids will do this. You know, the terrible twos, kids are like, no. And they want that sense of choice. When all of a sudden you introduce magic, and they're like, what? Even like the toughest teenager. Right. And they're like, well, you know, they're too cool for school. But then you say, tell you what, I'll do one trick for you, and if you hate it, you can throw me out. And they're like, oh, they love that. You know, and then
the idea of just telling somebody
completely. And then all of a sudden you do something, the magic itself is close-up magic, it's very interactive, it happens in the other person's hands usually. And then all of a sudden a couple of things happen. That child, they're surprised, and a lot of times they'll gasp, and many times in doing magic with kids and teens, it's the first time it has created an opportunity for them to laugh or smile for the first time since they've been in the hospital, even for extended stays.
That must be transformative, not only for the child, but also for the magician.
No, you're absolutely right. And like that, I think that's another reason all of this works. I mean, it's a volunteer-based program in terms within in the hospital environment. But our best volunteers are those that, they have to go all through Magic University, but those that have experience. And what's wonderful is they get so much back that they keep on wanting to go. So the folks that are in the hospital, either they're specially trained and certified just through Magic University, or they're someone that they've been with the organization for a long time just because it works. At the end of the day, like Magic in a hospital, and this is like from hearing back from parents, hearing back from hospital staff, bedside Magic just works for a bunch of different reasons. It grabs their attention, but also it gives them that sense of control in terms of like choosing a card. I know,
it's something so simple.
It's so simple.
Pick a card,
and then all of a sudden they have that sense of control, and then something happens in their hand, or like, here, hold this,
and it gets them out of what they're dealing with on a daily basis.
Absolutely,
it gets them away from having to think of their medication that's coming up, or the terrific hospital food that they have to eat. It just gets them. I'm imagining it, because I think about if I was doing it, it would take me out of where I'm at, and I get to just live here in this space right now for a few minutes.
We had a heart doctor who was a hospital magician. He went through our volunteer
program,
really? And he was volunteering. He said, just this is so different than any other interaction within a hospital. He goes, like, for a doctor is trying to turn as many rooms as possible because they have an unbelievable amount of patients on their list. So our goal is, once we're in there, is of course provide the necessary information but like to do it as fast as possible. It's like when a hospital magician comes in, it slows everything down, and also it changes sort of the vibe of the room, in that here is someone that is there specifically for you. I mean, truly, everyone else that goes into a hospital, of course, they're getting important medical treatment. They're focusing on the young child as a patient, as what's wrong and how can we fix that. And of course, that's what you want when you put your child in the hospital. But they say when a hospital magician comes in, all of a sudden it's like, no, I'm here so that we can have a good time.
Right.
And all of a sudden a kid can be a kid again. And then from a parent's point of view, a parent can take a look at their child. And again, parents, it's one of the most worrisome times, of course, having a child in the hospital. Horrific. But it's a time where they can look at their child and say, oh, that's what my child, exactly. This is what this is how my child used to act before they were in the hospital. A social work told that early on. They're like, no, you also need to include the parents. Because it helps them sort of relax. And I've noticed too, when magic is done for the child, and let's say they're having a good time, the parent relaxes, but all of a sudden, if you can get the parent to laugh, even a simple line like when you walk in, and we teach this, they introduce yourself to the child, and you look at the mom, and again, you can't assume it's a mom, but like you see an older woman in the room, and you're like, oh, I see you have your older sister. I mean, it's such a corny line, but within that,
breaks the ice.
It does, and all of a sudden, the mom isn't expecting it, and they laugh, and then the child looks at the mom and says, thinks like, okay, I can have a good time too, because my mom all of a sudden can.
do that. So awesome.
Yeah.
How did you even come up with this idea? Were you doing magic when you were a kid?
I did some magic, but not much. Like I had like the good old coin slide where you put the coin in, it disappears, and you turn around. And so there was that, and like I didn't have access to magic or anything like that. I just thought it was cool. But then it was, many years ago, I was working in the corporate environment. I left the corporate world. I'm like, all right, this isn't for me.
Good for you.
Yeah. Got my grad degree at Northwestern in business, and I was doing some things on the side, and I was trading futures actually, and I just wanted to sort of give back and do something social. At that time, I was teaching myself sleight of hand.
Okay.
It was a book on my wish list, and my wife bought it for me, and I just started messing around. David Blaine was on the TV, if you remember him.
Yeah, sure.
And he was doing some stuff, and I'm like, oh, that's sort of cool. And I wanted to give back, tried to join the Masons. That didn't work out. It just was like, no, I really want to just focus on giving back. Yeah. Wonderful group, that sort of thing. And finally, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to see if kids want to see magic. And I contacted a couple hospitals. I said, look, this isn't child party magic. This is close-up magic, classic close-up magic, sleight of hand sort of thing, very interactive. Almost adult-oriented, but still very visual. I'm like, would this even work? And spoke to the folks at Rush Children's Hospital, and went in and did some magic. And I said, look, this would be bedside. I'm not doing child parties. This is more meant to be something a little more intimate. And she's like, no. And she's like, that is better. She's like, we've had a couple groups that came in and they did some child parties, and they're like, that's not a great fit for the hospital. And unfortunately, those organizations completely, because you have to say, truly wheel them down into the playroom.
So we got another activity. Whatever.
Exactly, and it takes resources. But the idea of going to someone's bedside was something that was unique, and I think what it also did is it afforded us a couple things. It afforded us the opportunity to really understand what kids are going through and what we can do to help a little more. And magic in itself is amazing. Magic that is interactive and something that happens in their hands. Doesn't matter if you're in the hospital or if you're at a bar mitzvah. I say that as I've worked one bar mitzvah. It was just someone that like, we want you. And I'm like, all right, I'll give it a shot. But like magic is something that is transformative and fun and exciting. But there's that piece. But then seeing what kids are going through, the idea of taking magic as a solution, you have to understand the problem, and what are kids going through? They're extremely scared. They've lost that sense of control. They've lost routine. Anyone that comes in the room that's wearing a coat, they're scared of.
Right.
They're like, we don't know if that's going to be. They don't like new, especially new adults.
Right. Or you.
Plus, if needles and drinking vats of fluid for special X-rays and things like that is required, like it makes them uncomfortable, scared, and kids will revert in age. Kids will like hole up and turtle up. And they'll just become disengaged overall and scared and all that sort of stuff. And speaking to child life, they say that a kid's development can stop when they move into a hospital because there's so much uncertainty. So instead of having these rich experiences in life, all of a sudden they're in this situation that is very scary to them, simply because of the uncertainty and the amount of things that are happening to them. And so that's sort of the problem. How can you use magic to then sort of address that problem? And it is, like we discussed already, it's making sure that they can laugh again. You're trying to remove that stress. Getting them to laugh. And I think it's one of those things. If a hospital had a drug or a treatment that they're like, okay, we want this child to be happy, they would absolutely implement it in any hospital. And until then, we have open heart magic, bedside magic, because it works like that. So there's that situation. Like, what are they going through, and how can magic happen? And a lot of times too, let's say kids are so withdrawn. A lot of times you may have to get on your knee and you may have to like speak very softly because you're trying to sort of coax that child out of the patient again. And then once you're able to do that, all of a sudden they sit up, and all of a sudden they're engaging, and then they're laughing, and then you teach them a trick and they want to perform a trick for someone. And we have heard back from nurses and doctors that say, the next morning the patient was very different, in terms of like offering, hey, do you want to see the trick that I did? And thanks to all the doctors and nurses, at our 12 different children's hospitals for watching those same 5 tricks over and over ago and pretending like they're the first.
Is that how many hospitals you're in now?
We're in 12 hospitals now, correct.
12 hospitals in the Chicago area.
In Chicago, and then we're also in Ann Arbor, University of Michigan Children's Hospital, and then we're also in Cleveland, the Cleveland Clinic, and UH Rainbow Babies and
Children. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you're expanding.
We are.
Because I'm doing this for selfish reasons, because I would love to see open heart magic in New Jersey. We have some great pediatric hospitals, pediatric care, Valley Hospital, Hackensack Medical. I mean, so many hospitals in the area. So to be able to bring that out here was completely selfish reasons.
Sure. No.
So you talked about Magic University.
Right.
So all the volunteers go through Magic University?
Correct. So you can imagine, if we're going to put individuals in front of kids in this very sensitive environment, because they're young kids, but also because of the medical frailties of what's going on. Parents are learning bad news about what's going on. It's a very, very sensitive environment. Who we put in front of the patient is critical.
So they're not only learning tricks, they're learning that side of it as well.
Completely. And magic, so if you want to become a candidate for open heart magic, hospital magic, first off, let me just say it's the most fun. I used to be a Peace Corps volunteer. this, I think it was a wonderful experience, but like to do magic for a child at hospital is life-changing.
Yeah.
Because each time you go, you have stories that you can tell. You're telling friends and family, like, not the specifics, of course, because it's protected information, but in terms of the overall story of what's going on, here is this child going through this, and then I did this, and all of a sudden they're like,
it's so rewarding. I mean, it's got to be mutual.
Correct.
For the magician. And I know I've talked to Sophia, who volunteers and does magic, and she has told how it is transformative for them as well. Because you don't need, oftentimes, especially if you're young and you don't have children, you don't understand what's going on,
right.
In terms of emotions and their mental health between the parent and the child.
Right.
Yeah.
So first we make sure that we have this pretty strong screening process, background checks and all that other stuff. We do interviews, they have to fill out an application. We want to make sure that we have people that have commitment and those with an interesting character. And that's not necessarily people that are extremely outgoing. I mean, it's those, but it's also other people too. People that are just interesting people, because we're putting them in front of kids. And then they go through Magic University and they need to pass. We lose about 20 to 25% of the people that are entered into Magic University. Because the goal is to make sure, in Magic University, to make sure that folks, when they are done, they feel confident and ready to start in a children's hospital. And which is very intimidating. So we want Magic University to be intense and comprehensive so that they know they can handle any situation. And in Magic University, of course, they learn magic, which and it's got to be good. It has to be transforming. It has to be strong, because that's sort of the bread and butter of what's going on.
Sure.
But that's just a third of what people learn. The second piece is actually how to work within a hospital. Let's say you are working with a patient and the patient can't speak or doesn't speak English. How do you sort of mime the interactions? The tricks are so engaging. Even though they're adult tricks, we've pushed everything aside just to have those that are extremely visual and those that are very interactive. So the magic is strong, but you still need to, let's say you have someone that can't speak or can't move their arms. You can adapt that magic so anyone can be a part.
Right.
And that
So you teach
early
them as well.
on, exactly. So let's say they can't move their arm, how do you address that?
Yeah, the paraplegia quite a bit.
Exactly. They can blink to do the magic. The key is to have them.
Do they know that going in, who the child is going to be? Or?
Generally, the first name, last initial age, and then if there are any physical limitations. Okay. You don't know their medical situation, but if all of a sudden, let's say they're delayed, let's say they're 16, but they're delayed to maybe 12 or 10, you know that, okay, these are the kind of tricks you can do, and here's sort of the approach. So
you adapt for older kids with certain tricks?
Correct.
Okay.
Absolutely. Or different ways to adapt in terms of, let's say they can't move their, you can show it, you can have them choose a card by saying stop, you can put it under their finger so they still feel apart, and then, maybe you touch the card and then you turn it over and it's changed. So the key is to get them involved as much. This is not meant to be a show where the magician comes and does everything. It's meant to be an interaction, because it's in that interaction that the patient then sort of re-engages and becomes interested, and then all of a sudden they're like, it creates that what if scenario, like maybe that did happen, and that's when they're like, you can see it on their face, and they're laughing. We even had I remember doing magic for one patient, and I walked in, the mom's like, well, good luck, he's been crabby all day, and then was doing magic, and the child's like, oh shit. And then the mom started laughing, but it was a sense of relief, because all of a sudden the child, was acting like how they used to.
Yeah. Like that's my son I knew.
Completely. Yeah. And then the final piece is sort of meeting kids and their families where they're at. And this is more from a mental perspective. That's sort of the art of mirroring, where they're at and trying to sort of gently get them engaged. Like there's early on, and this is when I realized, like, wow, we're really onto something. We had a very committed volunteer, and going to Children's Memorial when it was, in Lincoln Park, and went into an oncology room, pediatric cancer, and it was a dark room. And this child, you could tell, like 12 years old, just was tough. And again, it wasn't a clinic, there was an inpatient room, so they'd been in the room for a while. So it was a tough case. And so the magician introduces herself and is able to get the child to say his name. And And she's like, okay. So she makes the silk disappear, brings it back, says a little, a little more, gets involved a little more, and then make balls pop out of his hands, makes him vanish and all this sort of stuff. And it was a situation where all of a sudden the child was interacting, was saying some things, and a room like that, you don't know, like, did I really help? But again, sometimes kids are in such a tough situation. Anyway, she leaves the room and the mom follows her out and shakes her hand. She's like, thank you so much. Even him just saying his name, something he hasn't done, it gives me hope that he's going to get better. So but
I'd be crying.
Oh, it's one of those things. But like, if you're a volunteer doing service, you're like, oh, how powerful is that? Yeah. Then it makes you want to go back, and you make, like, I remember the first time I went to the burn unit. I was at University of Chicago Comer Children's Hospital, serving there. It's one of those ones, like, before you enter the burn, you're like pacing back and forth, like, and this is after I've been doing magic for years and years and years. Never. Yeah, oh. And there was a boy that was attacked by a Rottweiler. So a burn unit also has just strict infection control. So it's not just those that experience burns, but anything that has great infection risk. And there was a child that was just mauled by a Rottweiler, and he almost looked like he was. Sometimes if you see a boxing match, like the next day, they'll just swollen up. I mean, this is what this child looked like. But you know what?
And you have to prepare yourself. Like, you don't know what you're going to see.
Exactly. What's nice, though, is generally we don't know what's wrong, and you can speak to the child, but there are times like that. And again, you just sort of snap into character, and you're taught that during Magic University, how to deal with these situations. But guess what? All of a sudden, he's interacting. He's able to sort of get past that, and I'm able to connect with that. And the same. So, like, meeting a child where they're at. I mean, that may be even more important than the magic. However, the magic people don't pass Magic U because they can't do some of the magic, because it is sleight of hand, classic sleight of hand. But
it's not easy.
It's not, and it's magic that'll also, like, once you learn it, it's good enough for the adults, which means
it's great at parties.
Yeah, completely.
Sophie still does it.
Oh, no, for sure.
Like, come on, what'd you learn? What's new? And I'll have her do it.
That's wonderful.
And it blows me away.
Yeah.
Anything I was ever able to do, she's far exceeded.
Yeah.
She's far exceeded.
She's very good.
So when did you start Open Heart Magic? When was it founded?
About, let's say, 23 years ago.
23 years ago. And how, I mean, now you're in 12 hospitals, but...
Correct.
I understand that organizations like this, you can only put so much of your own money in it. Buying your own. How many packs of playing cards do you go through a month? It's a lot.
It's not just decks of playing cards. It's ever since the pandemic, the protocol for usage of things in a room is extremely tight. Things like, let's say, sponge balls, for example.
Yeah.
And sponge balls are one of the most powerful things you can do with a child, because you make them vanish and you have them hold something and you make it disappear, and all of a sudden that ball's in their hands. And the strongest magic for a child is magic that happens in their hands.
Yeah.
However, it's a sponge, which is also a big thing for bacteria. So all that has to be new. For every room. And is it worth it in terms of the cost of those sponge balls? Absolutely. I mean, it is. It truly is. It's one of the strongest things that we do. We had to change everything, and I mean, even things such as using gimmick decks and stuff like that. We can no longer use those because of the infection control guidelines. Which is good. I mean, it's good that we battened down the hatch collectively and tightened everything, and it makes sure that all the kids are extremely safe and the magicians are safe, and we just want to make sure that that's important. But that also sets us up for expansion to any hospital, because we have the tightest protocol. I think one reason we excel is not because of the magic, because we understand we understand how to sort of adapt the magic to situations. We understand how to meet kids where they're at, but we also know how to work within a hospital. And those requirements seem like they change every year.
Yeah, sure.
And I guess that's also a big key of Magic University. And there's a lot of trust between a hospital and the hospital magician. That's why it's difficult for someone who isn't part of a group like this, that is thinking about these things, to start in a hospital and start volunteering.
So that's what I want to find. That's what I want to ask. So if someone out there is watching and says, I love this, they're in Chicago, they're in Michigan.
Right.
If they want to volunteer, they want to go to sign up for Magic University, how do they do that?
So it's if you just go to Open Heart Magic, there's
.org?
OpenHeartMagic.org, absolutely. .com will also forward you there.
Okay.
I know that because I set up that forwarder. But get involved if you're in the Chicago area, but that's also the suburbs because we're all over Greater Chicago. Again, we're at Mott in Ann Arbor, and then two children's hospitals in Northern Ohio. Just apply. We give Magic Universities every year, and then say if you figured out where you heard about this, say Flavi.
Flavi. From the Towncast.
Absolutely. But then you have this opportunity to. It's an amazing experience too. The people that are in Magic University, and we've heard this too, like they're high quality individual. They're people that are committed, they're interesting, and they want to give back.
Yeah.
So people are sad when Magic University starts. Magic University is roughly 12 weeks, and it's once a week, and you will have things that you'll need to do for the following week in terms of performance things. There'll be tests on protocol, but like we have lots of videos. Like we improve it every single year. It's very professionally presented, and we've been doing it for 21 years. So each year we tweak it and tweak it and tweak it and make it better. And I know you have a challenge going on. Correct.
So for those of you that can't donate your time, because I always say, you've heard me say it ad nauseum, when it comes to organizations like this, it's not always about the money. You can volunteer your time. So certainly, you can find out, you can go online, you can see where there's a need. They might need somebody to answer phones. Whatever there is, or if you want to sign up for Open Heart Magic, you could do that as well. Mm-hmm. But you have this challenge going on. So talk about this.
Correct. So we have $25,000 that numerous donors have said, if you can raise this amount of money, we'll match it. So
really?
Yeah, so that's happening now. That's $25,000, which is a lot for us.
Yeah.
So we kick this off today.
Nice, perfect.
I know.
On my birthday.
By the way, happy birthday.
Thank you.
Well done. Well done.
This is perfect. So it's kicking off today.
Correct.
So it's
in honor of you, Flavi.
November 25th.
That's true.
Right. It's because of my birthday. So listen, if you're watching this for my birthday, don't send me presents. Send money to Open Heart Magic and this challenge that they have going on. So the amount of, if you can raise up to $25,000,
yeah,
you have other donors that are going to match
that will match that. Correct.
Oh, that's huge.
Yeah. So we just we found out about this, and then you approach certain donors and say, hey, wondering if you'd like to give a matching gift, and we track when people give to make sure that we get the reporting is pretty tight.
Nice.
But, yeah.
So
go ahead.
No, keep going.
Another way too is if you are in a city where Open Heart Magic isn't there, we are working to build a platform to be able to expand to new cities.
Okay.
So we're in that process now, and it's things such as recruitment, for example. When we roll out a program, we want to make sure we have enough people, but we want to make sure we have enough people that we can be selective to put the best people in front of kids.
Yeah, so like you said, 25%.
Completely.
Yeah.
And this is a children's first organization. It's not a volunteer first organization, meaning that we always have to do the best that we can for the kids. So if kids don't make it through Magic, or someone doesn't make it through Magic University, we of course can't use them in the front lines.
Sure.
So if you're someone that's in a city that would like bedside magic, we are now starting to have those conversations. It's not a short conversation.
Yeah. But you got to start somewhere.
Completely.
You have to open a door.
Absolutely.
So if someone right now is watching this, they're saying, listen, I'm in the city of Patterson, or I'm in the city of Newark, the bigger cities in Jersey.
Yeah.
How do they go about contacting you?
All they have to do is there is a link on the website, Bring Open Heart Magic to My City.
Okay.
So you go there and you fill out some information, and then we'll start building. Next year is when we're going to start really getting the word out. We're actually going to do our own podcast. Flavio,
nice.
can have you on.
I'd be happy to come back.
That'd be great. We'll be like, how do you do
I have to learn some magic.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
It's fair exchange.
But just to say, if we're going to roll out a program like this, it's a significant commitment.
Yeah.
Because if we start a program, we have to make sure that we have the funding to cover it and cover all those costs and the training. It's the training that's
you have to bring people out there.
Exactly.
Yeah. Do it for 12 weeks.
The good news is this is something where volunteers stay for a while because it's such a gratifying thing. Yeah. So we got to figure that out and pay for all the supplies. There's insurances and all the other stuff. But we also there's a funding piece, of course, but there's also the volunteer piece. If people know people, or if they're tied to a group, or all of a sudden see a community group, and they're like, hey, maybe I can put this information past my community group. That's tremendous, and we always get responses from that.
Yeah.
And then relationships with hospitals. Anyone that's in child life in the area that you may be interested.
Absolutely.
That's the way that we get into a hospital. Is this basically is a child life program. And Child Life is the group within a children's hospital that focus on the psychosocial elements of what kids are going through.
Yeah.
And they try to normalize that and give them that sense of control. In those three categories, that's what we need. And what we're doing is we truly are looking at cities, and the cities that have the best mix of this, because again, we want sustainable programs that last and last and last. That's where we're going to move to, we're going to expand to first. And meanwhile, in Chicago and Ann Arbor and Cleveland, we're still working to add people to the teams. So if you're interested in volunteering, we'd absolutely love to.
Listen, go to openheartmagic.org or .com and look for I Want Magic in our city, because I just feeling what it must be like for the child to, like you said, to just for a moment not think about all the surgeries or all the medicines or all the things that they have to go through and just lose themselves for a moment right there. And I understand there's also some leave-behinds, right?
There are. So we teach. And that's sort of cool too. Like after you do magic, and again, this magic that so amazed them, we are then able to sort of give them this secret power. Hospital staff member said, everyone speaks in terms of empowering the patients, which sometimes it's overdone. But she's like, Mike, you don't understand. The magicians at Open Heart Magic, she's like, they truly give them a secret power, which is how to do magic. So we make the young patients raise their hand. They have to say the secret code, which elevates everything.
Yeah.
Otherwise, because they almost expect, they're like, well, if this is real magic, don't I need to say a secret code? And you're like, that's why you're proactive. They're like,
right.
Oh, this must be real magic. And then they do
Can't
it.
tell anybody.
Oh, completely. And we have these secret lessons, which are these booklets. They almost look like cartoon booklets. But then we give them the magic supplies to do that. We'll give them a magic wand, their bracelets, stickers,
Amazing.
all of it.
Amazing.
Whatever we can do to make kids laugh and happy and feel like they can participate, because all of a sudden those actions of them doing magic, especially for other hospital staff members, it's something where all of a sudden they have the control over them, and it sort of balances things out, and it's really therapeutic.
Well, and we had the chance to interview one of your biggest fans at the marathon. So the Chicago Marathon, who my two daughters and my one daughter's boyfriend, they ran the marathon, and they did it for Open Heart Magic. They raised money. So seeing how many people were coming by that had the shirts on, giving the high fives. So I just randomly picked a woman that was standing there cheering, and I said, "Oh, can I talk to you about Open Heart Magic?" She said, "Sure." So I want to show you the quick clip.
I love everything about Open Heart Magic.
All right, so tell me, what do you love about Open Heart Magic?
How we've got the ability to be in the right place at the right time to help sick kids. And we can do all this to bring a community together to make it happen.
Nice. And do you do the magic?
I used to be a volunteer magician. I started this charity team.
Oh, you did?
And I'm on the board.
Nice.
And I'm the wife of the founder.
Oh, there you go. Well, I'm going to have Mike on. It's Mike, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to have Mike on. I have a podcast.
Oh, wonderful.
So
okay.
next time I come out, we're going to put him on the podcast.
Awesome.
What's your name?
Sue.
Sue?
Yes.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Sue.
you.
All right. That's your biggest fan.
Yeah, definitely has been.
Yeah. So she's been. How long has she been? How long have you guys been married?
About 27 years.
So she's from day one.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it was Sue that helped me come up with the name Open Heart Magic.
Brilliant.
Yeah, we wanted something that showed.
Susan, that was brilliant, by the way.
That's so brilliant. But we wanted something that showed that we were giving something. We didn't want like magic rabbits or wands or hats. It was more about sort of an expression. We wanted to be about giving rather than just about the magic.
Yeah.
Magic in itself,
just opening your heart
completely, and it's a gift rather than. It's like magicians too are very much look at me, and
right.
We're opposite that. It's almost like, no, look at you, look what you
Look
just
what
did.
you just did.
Exactly.
You made it
so we
disappear.
wanted that to be more of an expression. We came up with that, but since then she's on our board of directors, has been a wonderful leader. She's the one that got the charity team program going. So, by the way, if anyone's interested in running the Chicago Marathon or even the Berlin Marathon,
the Berlin Marathon.
Absolutely.
You guys doing that too?
We are doing that. We just also rolled out just a few spots first year. The Tokyo Marathon Marathon. This is the first year they're allowing charity spots, but those are already gone. And then also Sydney is now a major, which is, I guess, a big thing. If you're a marathon runner, it's one of the majors.
Okay.
And we also have, I think, 5 spots for Sydney, but we have a lot for Chicago.
All right, and I know that there are a lot of people that are watching this that ran. I had a friend of mine that came from Jersey to run the Chicago Marathon.
Oh, really?
Then I found out there were a bunch of people that ran it.
It's one of the majors.
Yeah.
Something about these majors.
And also, from what I understand as a runner, not that I'm a runner, but from a lot of runners that run it, it's one of the best because it's so neighborhoody.
Yeah.
Everybody's out there cheering you on.
Lots of energy.
And it's flat.
Relatively. Yeah. Except for that final little leg where
Right.
people are like, wait a minute, it's
I
supposed
thought
to be
it was
flat.
over.
Yeah, for sure.
Well,
if you're a volunteer and all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, I'm going to go into pediatric intensive care or I'm going to go into the burn unit, like there is a sense of hesitancy. It's definitely a gray area. But I think once people go through Magic University and once they start, they realize how important it is to be on those front lines. I mean, that's when in their life, that's when kids are sort of, some of them, they're working to turn the corner in their disease. So anything that can be done at that time to give kids a little more energy, to make them so to change them from scared to stronger, it benefits the child and the parent, but also like, if you're a volunteer, you're like, it's amazing that you're there. You feel like it's such a privilege, but also like, what a cool feeling to have for a volunteer.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I encourage you guys, go to openheartmagic.org. If you can donate your time, find out how you can volunteer. If you're going to run a marathon and you want to raise some money, here's a great opportunity to raise money for such an amazing cause. And if you're in a city and you want to see a program like this come into your city, sign up, get in there, and start laying the groundwork, because it's one door has to open. You just need a little bit of groundwork to keep building and keep expanding. Because I'd love to see you guys in every city across the country doing something like this.
That's our vision, but it takes a lot. But that's what we're attacking. So We'll see. Fingers crossed.
You know what? Another 21 years.
You never know,
right?
You never know.
Mike, thank you so much.
Oh, it's an honor to be here.
Have a wonderful Thanksgiving, you and your family.
Very good.
I hope that you'll be seeing this after Thanksgiving. I hope you all had a great Thanksgiving. Christmas coming up. Hanukkah's coming up. Kwanzaa, all the holidays are coming up, so I really wish you, from all of us at Towncast, just a wonderful holiday season. And if you find that you've got some money, here's a great opportunity to help what Open Heart Magic does. So again, thank you so much.
Right.
I wish you guys all the
Thanks,
best.
everybody. Happy holidays.
All right, be well, everybody.